Hi, this is Mr. Cordes, and today, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go over and review Week 1 material for English 353 Children's Literature. The purpose of this video is to review the readings, to review the assignments, to kind of give you a preview of what to expect so you can manage your time, kind of get your thinking cap on as far as this, preparing yourself for this is what I'm going to learn this week. There's going to be additional videos that have lectures that go into detail for assignments, so please take time to watch those as well. This is going to be short and brief because I'm just going to outline and go through what's expected for the week. If at any moment in time we go through something and you're lost or confused, simply send me a message, send me an email, and we can talk through it and I can help clarify anything where you are confused. Okay. Week 1 for us is starting off with fairy tales, folk tales, and fables. These are essential parts of children's literature. We look at them and identify kind of the birthplace for some stories, some classic stories. And so as we begin to break things down, you'll kind of begin to see patterns and recognize characters, elements of fantasy literature. You'll kind of begin to pick up on those items from your own reading in the past, from your own familiarity. So this is a great week to start off. This is probably the best place for us to start off for week 1. As you get into the learning activities in Blackboard and go through, you're going to start off with an overview. This is a little calendar breakdown, telling you what you need to accomplish and then by when you need to accomplish it. So you'll notice that there's a couple things. The viewing the lectures, reviewing the videos, that's going to need to be done by day 3. Remember that Monday is day 1, so Tuesday, so Wednesday is day 3. You have all the way until Sunday to finish these items for day 7. You've got reading the syllabus. There's a discussion board introduction for yourself. You've got various different readings here. Like I mentioned, the lectures. There's a quiz as well as a response paper. One of the great things in this overview section that OPS put up for us is kind of a helpful guide for managing your time. It says here that each OPS course is built with 17 hours of student engagement per week. That's kind of give or take. I would probably manage your time for at least 15 hours. And then, you're reviewing, you're going over assignments, you're double checking. That would be those additional 2 hours towards the end. But again, managing your time well. There's a breakdown if you want to work over the weekend versus just working during the week. These are all suggestive. Some people I know have opportunities to work throughout the entire day and get things accomplished. I have other people who chip away at it, 2 or 3 hours a day. It's up to you. It all depends on how fast you read, how well you comprehend, how well you double check. So there's lots of things to it. I would also give time for yourself in regards to the technological components. So uploading, finding the documents, transferring over, whatever it is. As we progress through, there'll be other items as far as like videos and submitting assignments to like smart thinking in multiple places. So I always allow myself a quality extra hour just for technology in case something goes wrong, something glitches, all of those components. So just kind of take that into consideration. But OPS did outline things for us so you guys can help a helpful guide for managing your time. Here we've got an introduction. In the discussion board, you're just going to kind of put up some information. This would be like if we were going to go around the classroom and introduce who we are. This will give you the opportunity to see your classmates, engage with them, kind of figure out who they are. One of the great things is one of my favorite books from when you were a child. If you don't remember, you can't think, you think back and are like, I don't remember a specific book. That's okay. Maybe it's a story. Maybe it's a fairy tale or a fable that you are familiar with. Something from your past that kind of resonates with you. So Hungry Caterpillar, any Dr. Seuss book, maybe you read The Babysitter's Club or The Hardy Boys, something that kind of resonates for you as far as children's literature from when you were a child. Okay. This right here is the reading lectures. A lot of these items have links, and so you're actually just able to read them online. We're starting off with a small piece about children's literature and spiritual roots, kind of bringing us together with the components of Christianity. It's interesting to see because while a lot of children's literature encompasses, good versus evil and the hero's journey and kind of these classic elements, there is the very, very much impression of Christian themes as well. And we see that a lot throughout children's literature. And so we want to bring that to the forefront as we begin to analyze these fairy tales. You got a lot of readings from Aesop's Fables. There's also an item here from George MacDonald's The Princess and Curdie. This is actually a follow-up to The Princess and the Goblin. And it's actually a very, very unexpectedly dark story compared to what we are familiar with. Like when we hear the princess and we kind of go the Princess and the Frog, right? But in our mind, we have to kind of step back from our own perception of what a fairy tale should be and kind of get into this is what it originated as. So you and I, we've kind of been Disney-fied. We're very familiar with the Disney fairy tales. We have to go back prior to that and understand what's going on. So George MacDonald's The Princess and Curdie is what you'll be reading. I believe there is an audio online as well. I'm sure you could YouTube or Google it. In case that's something that could help you process through that reading. There's additional resource there for you as well. And then some items about Cinderella, the Three Spinning Women, Hansel and Gretel, A Wonderful Tar Baby, all of these kind of classic stories that we're somewhat familiar with, but it's going to take some time to go back and really begin to read through and understand what's going on. Not a lot of people understand where these stories originate from and just how different they are. Fairy tales begin to evolve and change. And so it'll be interesting to read through and kind of see your reaction to the origin story of these fairy tales. You also have a short introduction, the first 60 pages of our textbook. This is going to be beneficial and kind of help outline what's going on as far as elements, where things come from, the historical background that's needed to understand. So you'll be reading through that. I'll put my lectures down here for you. There is a reading quiz. So after you go through and you read and familiarize yourself with all of these different readings, there is a reading quiz. You do get one attempt, but you can take as long as you want. So I would kind of schedule this for like maybe Friday or Saturday after you've done all your reading. And that way you can kind of take your time. And I would also take an opportunity to, as you go through here, to kind of pinpoint notes like, oh, this is really interesting about the ant and the grasshopper. These are the things that I found. So super, super easy for you on that one. The very last thing is a fairy tale response paper. And I would actually recommend that you start to think about this as you begin to read through The Princess and Curdie. Because that's going to be the starting point. I'm going to make a lecture video for this as well, offer you more insight. But right now, what it tells you, it says write a 2 to 3 page paper response comparing The Princess and Curdie to one of the other fairy tales or fables that you read from this week. And what you're going to do, it says identify and describe 2 significant differences or similarities between The Princess and Curdie and the fable. So what you're going to do is, let's say that you began to notice something between George MacDonald's work and Aesop's Fables, you began to notice elements of like fantasy or whimsy, or like maybe it's even the darker tone, right? Gosh, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of the underlining dark humor that's there, or the lesson that's learned, the moral of the story, so to speak. It says here that the first should must relate to content. So what is it that you're comparing? And then 2, the second must relate to the telling. How do they tell it? So if both have, let's say, whimsical magic, okay, let's use magic as a starting point. What is the magic in both? and how is the magic being used? So is magic being used in a positive or a negative? Is magic used for someone's gain, or is it used for someone else's for good? So kind of begin to, what is it that you want to compare, and then how is that element being used? Okay. From there, as you go through, your next component would be to support your interpretation with textual evidence and close reading, but also what is the significance, which is the why. Why is it that they offer magic in both of them, but they're used differently? Okay. Why is it that when you read through, let's say, Cinderella and the Glass Slipper, why is it that it's such a dark feeling and very almost violent and grotesque versus the grotesqueness or violence of the Princess and Curdie? So what is it that's being used? How is it being used? And then why is that significant? So if I was telling my students in the classroom, I'm also a high school teacher, but if I begin to tell them something, I'll make a reference to what they're familiar with. So let me use a reference of, like, let's say a superhero movie. There's two different types of superhero movies, right? Let's say we're analyzing Spider-Man and the Avengers. There's two components. Maybe I'm going to analyze the superpowers that they each have. Each are different. And then I'm going to identify how are they used and why is that significant. So just like here in these stories, you're going to identify, oh, look, they both have talking animals. Okay. And how are the animals used to talk to each other? What does that do for the reader? And then we identify why that is important. Okay. Once again, I'll have another lecture video that goes over and reviews the fairy tale response if you need additional help. If you're thinking about an idea, that I would go ahead and kind of begin to take notes as you read through the text so you can kind of find your textual evidence to support your analysis. OPS does a great job of putting the criteria up. So they're looking at how well do you compare and contrast? What's your development or use of evidence? So did you support it well? Did you organize it well? Did you format your paper? Organization and format and editing will probably go back to your English 1, 2, 3 classes, your English 1, 1, 3 classes, those basic writing. So those kind of formatting things are put into place. Okay. The last thing that OPS does for us is set us up with looking ahead. What do we have coming up that we need to prepare ourselves for? And what other things that do we need to know? There are reading journals for each week, and each week you kind of piece them together so that by the very end, you'll be turning those in. It says here, as you progress through this class, you'll practice active, engaged reading and keep a reading journal. Okay. Well, you can write half a page to a page entries for each week. So let's say you do half a page, you do that for 7 weeks, you'll have multiple pages by the end. I would strongly recommend doing this one at a time. I don't think this will take you longer than a 45-minute chunk after you're done with everything. It says here, write no more than 2 entries per week. It says each week I will give you a different response for that option. So let's say right here, it says choose a set of questions from the options below and write your first entry. So all of these are different entries. So let's say that you looked at the biblical-based reflective component from reading that first article about Christianity and children's literature, and that's what you were interested in. Maybe you can write your half page to a page response on that. Okay. There's this folk tales and fairy tales often reveal about cultural values. Choose one of the fairy tales from the week's reading. What does the tale reveal about its culture, and give some specific examples. So again, I don't think this will take you longer than about 45 minutes to look at the question, come up with a half page to a page reflective response. This is your opportunity to kind of step back and say, okay, what did I learn? What am I taking away from this experience of reading and analyzing literature for week 1? Okay. So all of those things are for us for this week. So you have reading through the syllabus, putting up your introduction. I don't think that'll take you longer than 10 or 15 minutes. You've got your reading. You can manage your reading. Also, if you try to find an audio version online, that would be helpful as well. I'll have some lectures. I'm going to put up a basic lecture about the fairy tales and the stories that we're reading. And then I'm going to put up another one for the response paper. There'll be that reading quiz, and the response paper is the biggest one. You're looking at 2 to 3 pages of comparing and contrasting what do these have in common, okay? Please take a moment to message me, email me if you have any questions or concerns. This is the overview video for week 1. Take some time to watch the other videos. I will talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.